Hello, Liverpool fans. Welcome to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. Coach Ralph and I are excited to bring you this podcast. From games to players to club news, we cover everything LFC. You can find us on every platform and YouTube. Please take a second to follow or subscribe to the podcast. That way, you know when the latest podcast is up. Thank you for listening, and now on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Salim Sakra, and I'm here with my other co-host, Coach Ralph. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, getting excited because the season's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, it's around the corner, and we got the Community Shield this upcoming weekend, and then we're off and running at Ipswich.
Yeah, it's coming up fast, and I believe that as of Tuesday, as of tomorrow, the entire squad will be together down in Kirby. So yeah, it's going to be. I guess it's going to be quite an intense time for the manager because he's had so many of his senior players absent.
It's going to be interesting on how he evaluates them too, because he doesn't have a lot of time before, the season kicks off. So it's going to be interesting how he does that.
Well, it's going to be an action-packed month for sure because I think that once we start getting into the details of the two games that Liverpool have played this week, and now with all the senior lads coming back, he's going to be making choices not just in terms of team selection, but he might sell some players and players going out on loan. And I think with the way that the squad is set up right now, what he's inherited from Jurgen Klopp is that there are a lot of questions to be answered. And again, something else that we can get into is maybe the transfer situation. Liverpool haven't dived into it this summer.
Right.
That's because of the squad. There's a lot of players.
Yeah, there are. So the first game was against Arsenal, and it was a 2-1 victory. There were some bright spots for sure. And, Salah scoring, the way he scored, that whole little movement between Jota heading the ball down to Elliott, who passed the ball through, a great through ball to Salah. And I was a little concerned when Salah got the ball. It didn't look like he had that explosiveness, but what a clever move to just cut in front of the defender and found himself, about 18 yards out and just curled it in. Nice, easy goal for him. What were your thoughts of that first goal?
Well, I think you've identified the thing. It's a good through ball from Elliott. And then, something that every level of the game, if you're coaching, tell the player to cut in front of your opponent, because the only thing that they can really do at that point is foul you. And in a critical situation, it could be more than just a foul. So yeah, he cut in front and showed all his experience and finished. So it was a good move. Liverpool had been under a little bit of pressure, but it showed that whilst there's that side of the game, they have players up front that know where the back of the net is.
Yeah, I've really been impressed with Elliott throughout the American tour. It just seems like he's keeps getting better and better and better. And we talked about him last season, towards the end of the season, that I think Klopp even mentioned it, that if he would have started Elliott in the midfield a little bit earlier, because he really came on strong at the end of the season.
Yeah. Look, he's very talented. I'm not sure how old he is now. Is he 21 yet?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
But he's still on the young side. He's played a lot. Like they brought him from Fulham and he had a couple of games there. He went into the academy to serve his apprenticeship, worked his way through. And then they sent him off to Blackburn, where he had a good experience, played a lot, and was a key player for them. That's in the Championship. So he was still a teenager, remember, when all this was going on. Came back, got a little bit of time with the first team, and then got that injury. But he's bounced back since. And, I believe he's played over 100 times for the first team now, and he's still a young lad, and he's clearly very talented.
Yeah, I mean, he is 21, by the way. That injury was gruesome, and there's a lot of injuries of that nature that players just don't come back, not nearly can hit their potential because of how awful those injuries can be. That one was really tough to watch too. That's the head turner. You see it, and then you see it on replay, and you don't want to see it again. But I'm glad he's really, really like stepping up, progressing very well. He's a little superstar, I think, in the making. He's very, very good. His left foot is dynamic. He's quick. He seems comfortable with the ball. There's no he's short, so winning aerial duels will always be an issue, but I don't think that's really his game or something that Liverpool is a big into, like an aerial type of attack. So I really like the way he's been playing, and then leads us to the second goal. Fabio Carvalho, another guy who's been playing very well in the American tour. Szoboszlai gets the ball, passes it to Elliott. Elliott chips it over the defense. We're talking a chip of maybe, 5 yards, not even. Gets the ball over, and Carvalho one-times it, volleys it into the goal. I mean, a really, really nice goal.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if Elliott's setup was a chip. He seems to actually scoop it. He seems to scoop it over the heads of the defenders. And fair play to Carvalho, because it was a really good finish. Very good finish.
Great run, too. He saw it.
Yeah.
And, Coach, what do you, before we kind of move on from that, how do you feel about Carvalho? I mean, he had some moments early last year, and then he went to where'd he go? He went
to
Leipzig. Had a tough time there. Went to Hull City. Had a good moment there. He seems like a first team player to me.
Again, a very talented player, and he came through the Fulham system like Elliott did. The only difference was he was bought when he was older, and he'd had significant first team experience. So he didn't go into the academy like Elliott did. And I think from the get-go, I kind of had the impression, and I think this is in big contrast to his friend Harvey Elliott, there's a little more of an ego. Because I believe he was eligible to play for England or Portugal, and he turned England down, went to Portugal. At the time that he was signed, he had designs on making the World Cup squad, which I thought, reading it, was a bit of a reach.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was his mentality. And then it seems that he struggled a bit, because he did get some game time and he had his moments, notably the winning goal that he scored. He scored against Newcastle.
Yeah.
And I mean, he scored against Manchester City at Manchester City. So, so he had his moments. But I think that when Liverpool struggled, it was when they hit that bad patch in that particular season. I think that Klopp favoured others over him, maybe older players, because I know the philosophy of some managers is definitely that when the going gets tough, to protect the younger players. And it seems like he didn't react well to that. He wanted to play, which is understandable. I think every player wants to play, but I kind of get a sense he may have been a little bit of a problem. And so they were quick to kind of loan him out, as it were, and it's probably what he wanted. And now we've seen a situation where he's done well on the tour, and I'm sure he'll be positive going into Kirby this week to train. But the reality is that all the big guns are back.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think all of a sudden you've got teams like Southampton looking to sign him, because they're going to look at the situation from a distance and go, okay, Carvalho, who's he gonna play over? Where's he gonna play for Liverpool? He's talented, he's got ambition, and he can develop. So I guess the question is, what is his position? Is he in contention to be a forward? Is he in contention to be a midfielder, but more like a number 10 type of player, which I know a lot of people say that that's his best position. And whichever way you look at it right now, he's got some pretty strong competition for those places.
Yeah.
And, is he going to get in over a Szoboszlai or a McAllister?
No chance.
Is he going to get in over some of the wider options that Liverpool have? I mean, I don't know if he could play as a false nine. I don't know. I don't know enough about the lad to be able to hazard a guess, as it were. But anyway, so yeah, it's an interesting situation, but I think it's one of many that Arne Slot has got to face as he gets all the seniors back and he starts making choices for Ipswich and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the forward line. I mean, is he over Gakpo? No. Is he over Luis Diaz? No. Is he over Darwin? No. Is he over Mo Salah? No. So,
But he's talented. He's talented. I mean, like, you see the way that he scored against United, where he absolutely skins Casemiro.
Yeah.
And I mean, Casemiro is a top veteran player, and he goes past him like he's not there. So he's clearly talented.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you think the right move is to loan him out for one more year, or is it kind of time to make a decision on him? It's kind of similar with Sepp Vandenberg. The talk is either now's the time or we move him. Do you think it's similar?
It could be. I mean, I think that what the US tour has afforded on the Slot to do is really get a deep dive into the squad, and then the younger players. And you're talking, I keep saying this, it's a lot of players. And I mean, basically, it's like 42 players.
Yeah.
And over half of them, about 25, 26 of them, have come through the academy. So there's a lot of big calls to be made here. And I think the way that he's going to look at it is, I think if we're going to compare the two players, Vandenberg and Carvalho, Vandenberg might be in a better situation in as much as they don't have as much, or you wouldn't have as much competition, because, I mean, basically, obviously, there's Van Dijk, there's Konate, Gomez, Kwanzaa. Is Gomez going to go, which is another question that's kind of circulating. And then you've got academy kids beyond that. You've got Cometio, you've got Nalo, who's played on the tour, and then you've got players going back 2 or 3 seasons, Phillips and Williams. And so I have to believe Phillips and Williams are on their way out. I think Cometio's not quite developed in the way that they had hoped. Nalo has only just come into the team, and I think he's still like 17 years old. So, I mean, he's basically an academy/reserve player for now.
Yeah.
And then another interesting option in defence is always Bajcetic, because he originally was a central defender. He's not filled out yet, but who knows? Long term, that could be his position. So I think the manager's going to look at it and say, okay, where am I now? Do I want to sign players now? If I do, word is, well, certainly in the media, that they'd like to get a left-sided defender, central defender. So he's going to look at Vandenberg and go, okay, is he going to contribute this year? How much is he going to contribute? Or is it better to cash in on him? And I think he's got less competition. I think Carvalho has significantly more.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've watched Sepp Vandenberg because I thought that, we were talking about having another defender coming in that plays in the middle, and I was really watching him. I thought maybe he might be the answer, but he seems uncomfortable. He doesn't seem fluid. He's made a lot of errant passes. Now, I understand it's preseason and all that. I get all that, but from what Carvalho has done versus what Sepp has done, it just seems like two different worlds. And I know I'm being a little bit over the top about it, but I think the fact that Feyenoord wants to buy him, I think maybe that's a good move. I don't know what exactly his value's at. I think they wanted him for around 12 million pounds, but I think Liverpool are wanting a little bit more than that. But yeah, you're right though. It seems more of a easy road for him. Now there's the kids. What came on, by the way, Havertz did score in the 40th minute. Nice little tap in. He's an interesting player for Arsenal. But the kids came in the second half. I mean, all academy players, and really hung on to win the game. The point of these games aren't necessarily to win, although Slot has mentioned we want to win every game that we play, which I like that mentality. But that's not really the whole purpose of these things. Elliott was definitely the man of the match. Is there anybody that stood out to you from an academy standpoint? There was a lot of guys in there, and nobody really stood out to me in that second half for Liverpool.
Well, the talk was, and the big hit over the tour has been about the midfielder Nioni, who I think Klopp played him once or twice last year, but he was behind Bobby Clark, who didn't tour due to injury, and McConnell, who's got on tour. So it looks like Arne Slot favours Nioni over McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Tyler Morton came back he was also at Hull with Carvalho, and I mean he had a very good loan spell there, and he's had a pretty good loan spell at Blackburn as well, actually. Tyler Morton, and he's I believe he's got a regular place in the England under-21 team. So Tyler Morton is older and he's physical. I can remember that he got a little run under Klopp. It was 2 or 3 seasons back, and remember he played down at Tottenham, and some of his tackles were, a little too frisky. Is maybe a polite way to put it. But again, I think it's for the manager. I mean, these are all new people to him. And I think he's got to look at it and say, right, I've got my established players, and he hasn't seen them all yet. And he certainly hasn't seen them within his system. And it's basically with his established players, who do I want? Is there anyone that I'm not particularly keen on? And I suppose Endo, based on what we've been seeing out in the USA, is not a favoured player, perhaps. So there's always going to be that kind of situation. Then he's going to look at his young players and say, well, who can play now? So logically, I think Bradley and Quansah definitely can play.
Bradley's been a bright spot for sure. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And then you've got Elliott and Jones are still young players. You've got Elliott and Jones. Does he see Morton in the same bracket? Does he see Bajcetic in the same bracket? And then, of course, there's Ben Doak, who...
he's electric.
Yeah, he's very electric. He's still very young. I think I'm not sure he's 17 or 18.
He's 18, yeah.
18 now. So he might be in a similar kind of situation to Carvalho, but he's like 3 years younger, and he's a different style of player. You can kind of see where certainly in a Jurgen Klopp system he could fit in as a wide player, a wide forward, and he scores goals as well. He scores, so like. That's been part of his route up to where he is now with score. So, will they send him out on loan? I've read some things that he might be somebody for a loan move.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, lots of interesting prospects here, and yeah, there'll be some hard choices. I mean, I've worked out there are about 25, 26 players within the current 40 or so who are academy. And so at one end of the spectrum, you've kind of got Trent, and then you've got Curtis Jones, Elliott, Quansah, Kelleher. Now Kelleher could be sold.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen enough from Jaros on this tour. He's a number 3 goalie for the Czech Republic. That maybe the manager feels, okay, he would be a good backup to Alisson.
Yeah.
And I believe that they've got a couple of young goalkeepers there, Harvey Davis and Pitaluga. Pitaluga is a Brazilian. And they're both youth internationals and highly touted. So, I mean, Keller has played well on the tour. But now Alisson's back. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, Liverpool have 2 games next weekend. They have Seville, and then they have a behind closed doors game, I believe, against another Spanish team, Las Palmas.
On the same day, right? It's
No. I think they're on different. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. I just know that I thought they were on different days, but did you read that they're on the same day?
Yeah, I thought I heard that they were going to be on the same day, and I think that's going to be like on what, like, basically 2 different starting teams, and I understand that behind closed doors, like they'll stop a game to to highlight a situation or to do a free kick or whatever the case may be. So it's not exactly like an exhibition game, but yeah, my understanding is that they are the same day.
Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see how he lines up his team that day, and how many players he plays. So you'd have to believe. Alisson and Van Dijk will come back into the team. Then you've got players like Gomez and Konate. Will he start them? I don't know what the situation is with Andy Robertson, whether he will be fit to play. I don't think his injury is serious, but they obviously felt he was better served not. I mean, I think he's been training with the squad while he's been in America, but I don't believe they thought it was worth risking him. And then, of course, there's Trent.
Right.
So you've got Trent and you've got Bradley. And so I know that everybody talks about Trent playing in midfield, but, it's a lot of competition in midfield without even considering Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Right.
And my gut feeling is that you'll keep him at full back. That's my gut feeling. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think up front, I think have a feeling that he's going to use Nunes more as a super sub. And then you've got Jota. I think he'll probably start him in the centre. And you've got Diaz and Gakpo for the left. So you can already see coming back to Carvalho that
Yeah.
This is tough. This is tough. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend. It's going to be an interesting weekend one way and another.
Coach, from a coaching standpoint, when you evaluate players and what the team needs, how do you assess like potential and readiness? Like, how do you assess them against each other? For example, you might have, like, for example, right back, we have Connor Bradley, who seems like he's ready. He performed well in the Premier League already. We've seen glimpses of what he can do. He's had man of the match type of games against big teams. And then you got Trent, who's proven commodity. But maybe you can move him also into another position. How do you assess those as a coach?
Well, it's not easy.
Right.
I mean, because they're both really good. And I think that you've got to think first and foremost of your system, the style that you want to play, and which of those players is going to fit your system the best. I think the other thing that the modern game allows a coach, because it is a 16-man game, is that it allows you to change games tactically in a way that you couldn't do previously. And I think that we saw this last season with Klopp, where he would bring on three players. It was a very common thing. He would bring on three players. Now there's two modes of thinking here. One is to keep energy levels high because of the style of play. Mm-hmm. But then the other thing is that tactically, by bringing on that number of players, you can actually change your system a little more effectively than one or two.
Right.
So for example, to some degree, he could alternate Alexander-Arnold and Bradley according to game and according to circumstances. Bradley is more solid defensively. He can still get up and he can attack. But, I mean, how many players have the distribution talents of Trent Alexander-Arnold? There's not a lot.
Right.
So, so there's all these different trade-offs. So I think it comes down to the system. I think it comes down to the tactics within the game. And I think the manager, I mean, I don't fully know his style yet because I don't really feel that, that you're going to see that on the American tour. You got a sense of some things, like they pressed under Jurgen, but I haven't seen enough games to really have an opinion. I mean, I see all the speculation before he even put pen to paper at Anfield because of what he's done at Feyenoord and previously. So, yeah. System first, and then tactics. I think that will determine how you evaluate the players right now.
Okay. So, speaking of Dutch coaches, we had Ten Hag say some things about Slot, saying that if he meshes Klopp's style with his, he'll be very successful, which I find very interesting, that a manager who's had, okay go in the Premier League is kind of giving his opinion on what his, countrymen can do to be successful in the league. But that brings us to the Man U game. always great beating them in any type of a match, exhibition, behind closed doors, Premier League, FA, anything. But to be fair, the 3-0 scoreline was a little bit deceiving. I thought United did look pretty good in the first half. But in the 10th minute, you mentioned it, Carvalho absolutely skins Casemiro, literally leaves him on the ground, and takes a left-footed shot, gets a slight deflection, and goes in. I think just to keep the conversation moving, we've talked a lot about Carvalho and kind of where he kind of fits in or doesn't. The 36th minute, though, is the one that really got me excited. When Salah, talk about skinning, Salah skinned Collier, who's a academy guy for United, and gets to the byline, crosses it, and Curtis Jones making a run to score. That one got me excited because although the kid is a kid, Salah had like a little stop and go that literally left him in the dust. I mean, he was 3-4 yards past him before Collier even knew what happened. And that was nice to see. And then just to see Curtis Jones, getting in there and scoring was really nice.
Yeah. So my first comment of the Manchester United game is basically to rehash all the cliches about these preseason games that they don't count, because they don't. And I think they're more informative for the coaches. Both teams are in a similar situation in as much as a lot of the senior players are away. And to be truthful, when I looked at the two lineups of the starting teams, United had their 3 academy players or whatever it was in, as did Liverpool, but Liverpool's academy players are a lot more experienced. And I think that kind of told its tale over the course of the game. And it was a little bit closer than perhaps the scoreline reflects, because United did create great chances. And I suppose looking at United and also the Arsenal game, that'll be one area that will be on the thoughts of the manager, was both teams created a lot of chances. The goalkeepers did well, which is what they're supposed to do, by the way. They're supposed to do well. So the goalkeepers do well, but I think most managers would like to keep their keepers a little less involved, shall we say? And I think the tour in total, if you look at the 3 games, and I know that this kind of fits in with the narrative right now, is who is his defensive midfielder going to be? Is he going to use somebody who's on the squad now? Or is this where he's going to jump into the market or look to jump into the market and bring in a number 6? Because I think that America has shown that maybe Endo isn't a favourite player for whatever reason. I'm hearing it is because he's, his possession stats aren't the greatest.
Right.
I like him. I like Endo, and I think that he's an underrated player. So the other logical option at this time is Bajcetic, who I think is still 19. He might be 20, but he's still young. He basically missed last season due to injury, but showed 2 years ago clearly that he's capable of playing and doing a job at first team level. So I don't know if he's going to send him out on loan. I have a feeling that he's a younger player that he'd be more liable to keep. Mm-hmm. So is he going to sign somebody? So the other options then become, will he use somebody else in a number 6 role that's currently on the team to give them a game, in essence? I mean, Curtis Jones played there, and I think Klopp has looked at him there. And looking at Curtis Jones' makeup, to me, he's more of a holding midfielder than a defensive midfielder. So if you think about the very good team that Rafael Benitez built, he actually had 2 players in the midfield. He had a defensive player, which was Javier Mascherano. And then he had a holding player,
Alonso,
a distributor, which was Alonso. Yeah. So Jones, to me, is more of an Alonso type player. I don't know that he's got the distribution talents of an Alonso. For me, the weakness of Jones is that he dwells on the ball too long. He holds it too long. He's got talent, he's got skill, but that would be his downside. Then you've got Alexis McAllister, who has played there in the past. So I guess he can do a good job there, but it's not his natural game, and you lose the kind of things that he gives you in a more attacking sense. Because if you look at his time as Brighton, he was pretty productive in terms of his stats when it comes down to scoring and assisting. And so the higher up the pitch he plays, the more liable we are to see that side of his game. And then I believe he played Gravenberch there at the weekend. It was kind of difficult for me to pick that one out, but I mean, Gravenberch is an athlete.
Yeah.
Like no question about it. He's an athlete. Started quite well last season. Then he had a long spell where, probably because he lost a little bit of confidence or game rhythm, he looked adrift. Maybe bucked up slightly towards the end of the season, but these are all possibilities. And again, it's up to the manager. It's up to the manager to assess who can do that particular job. And my feeling is that that's the most likely position. If Liverpool signs somebody between now and the end of the transfer window, if it comes down to the choice of the manager, I have a feeling that that's where he's going to opt, which is for a defensive midfield.
Yeah, it seems like the most logical place. I mean, that was a position even of need last year, and Endo being 31 is, a stopgap. That's clear, especially with FSG's, the way they like to bring, players under the age of 24 to kind of have them grow with the team and still have value if, at 25, 26, 27, even if they don't work out the way they wanted them to. So but I'd love to see Bajcetic in to see what it looks like, because the memories I have of him was he was a destroyer in there, not like Vidal or some of these bigger named defenders or defensive midfielders. I know Vidal's retired, but I just think of him at Barcelona, how he was always just destroying everything. Fabinho was like that too. So I kind of see him in that vein, but I'd love to see just what he looks like. However, a loan move where he gets a lot of playing time is not a bad option either. So I think it's a win-win there, isn't it, Coach?
It is. I think I would guess that he probably won't want Bajcetic to go on loan right now. If he signs somebody, he might. If he signs somebody at number 6, he might. But as I said a bit earlier, I think Bajcetic is a little more first team ready than some of the academy lads. So maybe Doak, who we mentioned earlier, maybe it's good for him to go and get significant time because I think that other Premier League teams are looking at him.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if it was up to me and everything, and I'm thinking, okay, I've already got 5 or 6 players in, positions where Doak can play. But if he's playing Premier League for another team, that's going to be good experience and a pretty good indicator of what he can do at this level. And he's still only 18, so I think I would be more liable to send out a Doak. Possibly, I mean, I just talked to Bobby Clark, who, as we know, didn't tour because of injury. I mean, I thought that he was a very good player when he played because he got quite a few games. And Jayden Danns, who have not mentioned either.
Right.
I think again, highly talented striker who I think would benefit from a loan at this particular point. Toughen him up, as we like to say in the English game. I think that he would definitely benefit from that. I think he's still a teenager as well. So yeah, they've got some really good prospects, Liverpool. Very, very good.
Well, the third goal was a really nice move. Tsimikas actually scored on a rebound, but the interplay between Salah and Bradley coming up the pitch on the right-hand side was really nice. Bradley, again, getting up the field, cutting the ball back. Jota scores, and Tsimikas there for the rebound and puts it away. I mean, two backs, a left back and a right back, all the way up towards the goal.
Okay, well, maybe this is an indicator that this is one aspect of the Jurgen Klopp style that is going to stay.
Right.
So yeah, he looks for the fullbacks to be active in attack.
It's when fullbacks are up in attack, I always think back like when I used to play and how I always felt like there would be a void back there when somebody would make a run up like that. How does it seem like there aren't many voids when that happens?
Well, what do you mean by void?
So, for example, Connor Bradley gets up the right side, and then let's say they lose the ball, and the right back position now is wide open for to be exposed.
Right. Well, I think teams compensate in 2 ways. You have to have players at the back that can read the game and are fast. So, I mean, clearly that was one of the major reasons why they signed a player like Konate, because he's got serious pace. Gomez is the same, like they're very fast. And so they have to read the game, and then they have to be the pressuring player. And then, of course, you need a good defensive player, a good number 6 as well. We had Fabinho there during the peak of the Klopp era, and so that was very much a job where he would get involved as well, covering. So you have to have good covering players. They've got to have good speed. They've got to be able to read the game well, and they've got to be able to position. So the void, as you put it, the team is prepared to cover the void whether it's a Bradley or a Trent or a Robertson or a Tsimikas, when they get forward, there's got to be something to cover. And I think Liverpool's system has definitely done that during the last few years, and hopefully will continue to do that because as we've seen, particularly when Trent plays, the other team will go and station somebody out on the left wing and just sit them there.
Right.
And we all know what's going to happen next when they get the ball. So yeah, you've got to compensate for that.
Yeah. Any takeaways that you took from the Liverpool United game?
I think the big thing, and I hate this, is Liverpool's results against United and on tour have been positive. So, you've already got some of the fans getting a little too excited about it. And I would say the same thing. I think Liverpool lost to Manchester United a couple of seasons ago in pre-season, didn't they? Heavily. I would say the same thing that I probably said then was, wouldn't read too much into it. It's nice, but it doesn't really matter, especially as I believe the third game of the season, Liverpool goes to Old Trafford. And that's when all the big guns will be back on both sides, and that's the game that matters more. Mm-hmm. So the takeaway for me was, okay, there were a lot of nice positives. The young players did well. There were signs that players like Mo Salah is fresh for the coming campaign. That's if they don't sell him meantime. So there's lots of nice signs, but I wouldn't get overly over the top over it. It's missing, 9-10 senior players who were all liable to see significant game time this year.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Is there any situation where the preseason means something other than player evaluating? And I couldn't come up with a good answer for that. I think it's literally that, especially this year with a new coach. And it's nice to win, but it's not these things. If we lose all these and win the Premier League title, we'd all say, yeah, fine. These games are fun to watch. It's fun to win, but it's also the excitement of coming up to the season. That's what these games really remind me of. Just like the season's right around the corner, and we're about to get going. So the United game, that game easily could have been 3-3 or 3-2 United or 4-3. I mean, scorelines literally could have been all over the place. Rashford missed that one shot, the curler, when he got gifted a ball, and I mean, I thought for sure that ball was in. So, Coach, I think you make a good point, and we've reiterated a couple times that I think we're going to end on this: the patience that we're going to have with this team, with this new coach, until they really get rolling. And it's very, very hard for us to expect. Actually, it's impossible for us to expect for them to come out flying first game of the season and understand everything that Arne Slot wants them to do. It's just not going to happen. These things take time. They take relationships. Even when you look at the Jurgen Klopp era, he didn't start off on fire either. Even the second season. So let's just put things in perspective. Let's have patience. Let's have faith, and let's hope that this team can continue to move forward in a positive light like they have been the last 9 years.
Yeah. I agree totally with what you're saying, Salim, and I think the tour has been beneficial. Let's see how the 2 games go next weekend, and we can start to assess the Ipswich game.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, Coach, thanks again for your insight, and you're always wise when it comes talking soccer, and especially Liverpool. It's always a pleasure to hear your thoughts and your comments and the way you see things. You're always very even keel on these things, and I like to get excited sometimes. So you keep.
Well, I get excited. I get excited, but I guess I wouldn't say I was Gareth Southgate conservative, but a little more conservative, and let's see what happens. And whatever happens, let's hope that what Arne Slot builds at Anfield lives up to the excitement that his predecessor.
Yeah, so far so good. All right.
Yeah.
Coach, thanks again, everybody. Thank you for listening. Liverpool fans, we will see you next week. And thank you for listening. Take care, everybody. Liverpool fans, thank you so much for listening to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and would greatly appreciate your support. Please leave a 5-star review and feel free to email us at tlrlfcpodcast@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing from you. Till next time.